Hi there and welcome to Ambitious Single Moms, Stories of Strength and Success. I'm Sonja from Your Success Story, Single Mom Level Up Edition, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. I'm a mother of 3 wonderful daughters, and when my husband separated from me in 2017, he moved out on a Sunday and the next morning my mother died unexpectedly. During this time, I was although in the middle of chemotherapy. Suddenly, I'm all alone with 3 small children. As a single mom and a businesswoman, I know firsthand how challenging and rewarding this journey can be. When I first became a single mom, I felt overwhelmed and uncertain about the future. But through support and consistency, I've managed to build a life that I'm proud of, both for myself and my 3 children. This podcast is all about celebrating the incredible stories of ambitious single moms who are not only raising their children with love and dedication, but also pursuing their dreams and building successful businesses. Each episode, we will dive into their journeys, exploring the heights and lows, the lessons learned, and the strategies they've used to overcome challenges. My goal is to inspire, motivate, and provide valuable insights for all the amazing single moms out there who are striving to create a better future for themselves and their families. Remember, you are not alone on this journey, and there are endless possibilities when you take charge of your life. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Ambitious Single Moms, Stories of Strength and Success. I'm your host Sonja Zipser, and I'm beyond excited to introduce you to our today's guest, Ursula Sikuta. And yeah, she's another powerhouse single mom, and I'm so happy that she's prepared to share her story with us. Hello, Ursula.
Hey, hi Sonja, good morning. I would rather say, well, it's 10 o'clock, good time to say good morning then. Thank you for inviting me. I'm also very excited and I feel very privileged to be sharing my story today with you and your valuable audience. I'm very glad that we got to meet and that you invited me for this interview today.
Yeah, so glad that you are prepared to share because, it's not always easy to speak about being a single mom and having experienced so many different things. Maybe we start sharing your background a bit. How many kids do you have, and for how long have you already been a single mom?
So I'm 52. I live close to Frankfurt. I have 2 sons that are now 18 and 20. One of them lives in New Zealand at this point, and the other one is preparing to finish school next April. And I was married 20 years, and as I thought, I was very happily married. And we separated 3 years ago precisely. My husband met a friend of mine who I considered a friend, and then after more or less a week or so, they both decided to run off together. So it was not an experience that I expected. You know, there are couples that you think, well, they have been through so many storms, it wouldn't be a surprise if they separated. And we had been through storms, but it was never obvious that our relationship was not strong enough to get over this as well. And I was fighting for it for quite a while until I realized, no, maybe there is a gift behind it. So that's what I said to you, right? That some gifts are not very nicely wrapped, and yet it's a gift. I have to admit, it was at least 6 months that took me to realize that there's a gift behind it, because I was in strong resistance and I was not ready to surrender to the new situation. And to be honest with you, the number one consultancy that I always give to my people, to the people I work with, and I'm working as an emotional coach for many years, is to give up and surrender, give up the resistance and surrender to the situation, and to accept the facts that are there without wasting any energy on, but I wanted it the other way. because I had a lot of time wondering why this could happen and how this happened. And I was really not ready to surrender to it. And once I did, things became so much easier. And still, I mean, even today, there are days that I wonder how could this happen? And it would be a lie if I said that I like the situation, but I have grown so much into it and out of it at the same time. So I think that I have been a strong support for many women that are in the same situation, giving them advice on how I got over it and how I realized that there is a gift behind it. And it is, once you have unwrapped it, you get to enjoy the new life. So at this point, after 3 years, and we have been divorced for a year, we're in good contact. It's not, I wouldn't consider us friends, because for friendship, I think the number one value that you need is trust and faith. I don't have that in him anymore. But we do have 2 kids together. So there's still things that we need to talk about once in a while. And let's say common events like graduation parties from school, where of course we are at the same table, and we want to make sure that our kid feels that these are both my parents and I can feel well with them. So that's important. And I think we have managed that quite well. And considering my life now is that I'm far more developed than I was 3 years ago. I'm much stronger. I've grown so much out of this and ready to grow into something else that is my true self. And I have realized that I'm so much stronger than I would have ever expected me to be. And that's one advice that I always like to give to the women I work with, is that never underestimate yourself and what you're capable to handle. Because of course there are days that you go, oh, this is way too much. And then there's other days that you think, okay, bring it on, I can handle it. And growing into this, okay, bring it on, whatever it is, I know I can handle it by myself, is, I think, the greatest gift of all. And yet not having to handle it yourself is, of course, the goal, right? So I think that that's a nice thing to do. And I've understood so many things about myself, and also about, you know, relationships and everything, that that nowadays I'm feeling privileged with my situation, honestly.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Ursula.
Yeah.
And I was so happy when you said, oh, I want to speak about that not all presents are wrapped nicely, because I experienced exactly, no, it's not always exactly, but similar situation. My husband left me, and in the beginning, of course, I could not see any gift in it, but it took me more than a year to realize, because you were already working with emotions and everything. For me, it was new, but it was for me the start to develop myself. That's been the first present for me, to start a new way of living and studying and personal development. And that's so important, especially in a situation like that. Because you said also in the beginning, yeah, you always teach to the people you work with, yeah, let it go and everything. But when yourself, when it's on you, of course, we are hurt, and then it's often it's easy said, but not so easily done. So yeah, it's a process, and it's great to be able to do it on our own, but most of the time we need someone who supports us.
Yeah. And let me tell you, the people that supported me the most of course, my friends, and not so much my family also, but not so much. My friends, and of course also the responsibility to keep going for my kids, you know, because I want to be a role model for my children in any aspect. So not only relation-wise, but also life-wise. So there was no moment of I'm giving up, because I don't want to show, I never wanted to show my kids that it's worth giving up yourself for somebody else. So I think that is an important part. You know, sometimes it's harder to be a single as you're a single mom. And in the end, I think my kids are the ones that gave me most strength and most power, because they made me realize day by day that I'm going to be a role model, and I'm going to show them I can handle anything. It's not that I ask for it, but still I can handle it. And I think that's a good example to give to your children. And of course, I was lucky enough to have two kids that are, let's say, very stable, because they have been with me for a long time, for once. And secondly, I mean, they were 15 and 17 at this age. It's much easier, of course, you know, for children also to understand and build their own opinion. So so that was easier than like for other moms that have very small children, that, you know, that you still have to be a role model, but there's no support from their side because they're just too small. My sons have been of great support for me, not because I asked them for support, but for being the children or the young men they are. So so that helped a lot too, of course. And my friends. So, you know, that's one thing that I really recommend to anybody in a relationship, no matter if you have a relationship or not. Make sure to have a very, very solid friends zone, that you know that if something goes wrong, and sometimes you you lose strength, that you have somebody to talk to. And friendship is not a one-way street, so you have to be the friend you want to have.
Absolutely.
And I was very, very thankful, I still am today, that I have a very strong bond with my friends. So my house was really flourished with flowers and support. And I had calls and people coming over, and even friends, you know, calling me and telling me, you know, you can call me anytime, I will be there. And that was a very nice thing also, because I had always given a lot of importance to my friends, but until then I realized how important they really were to me. So even if I'm in a relationship now, I have a very strong focus on my friends, because partners may come and go, but friends still stay, and friends are chosen family. So
Absolutely.
make sure to have people around you that I always say that in the cookie of life, friends are the chocolate chips.
Yeah.
So that's one really big concern I have when I see women, especially women, diving into a relationship and there's nothing else but the relationship.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take that risk.
No, of course, in the beginning, you are so in love and you want to focus on your new partner. But yeah, it's so important not to forget on the other people, your friends, and also some family members you can really, yeah, where you feel the same frequency, energy, that you know, okay, it's the same. They head in the same direction as I do, what I want in life. And for me, what I realized with the personal development, that it's important when you speak with friends that they don't pity you, but you need people who lift you up.
Yeah, that's for sure. So thank you for for saying that, because you don't, sometimes you need some pity. Okay, let's go for that. Like one cup of wine and a big pity bowl.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And then you just keep going. I mean, we can still feel bad sometimes and just dive into that. So you mentioned that before. I have been working with emotions for many years, and I'm very involved in all these topics. So that definitely helped. And I think that's also why I recovered so quickly, because I had so many tools to lift myself up and not depending on others to do that. So that's good. And still asking for help also helped me. Right? Because we're all humans. And even if you're a coach or if you're very focused on this, you're still involved. And once you're involved, you know, emotion is high, intelligence is low.
Yeah.
So when I'm involved, I'm just as emotional as anybody else, because I'm a human being, and that's fine. but still, you know, make sure to have friends that come and lift you up, and sometimes also kick your ass, you know, like, sorry for saying it that clearly, but sometimes you need someone who goes, okay, now it's been enough now, keep going, right? And then they give you a handkerchief and hold your hand, and that's fine. So make sure you have a good surrounding. And there's also one thing that helped me a lot, which is actually a book. I don't know the English cover, the English name for it. It's called The Fairy Tale About Death, Das Märchen vom Tod. And you might want to link it down in the subline. And I got this book as a recommendation from a very dear friend in this time. And it's basically telling the story about our souls coming to Earth, asking for a certain experience.
Yeah.
So, and I thought the idea was so sweet that, you know, my souls, or any soul, they're surrounding themselves up in heaven, I would say, before they decide to come down to Earth and make a certain experience. And the souls that love them the most, and that's an important part, the souls that love the person or the soul the most, they come down here with you to support you, and maybe sometimes even give you that experience.
Yeah,
which in my
Mm-hmm.
case, to me, meant a lot of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could realize, oh, so maybe his soul only came here with me to give me this experience, and also the experience of motherhood, and also the experience of being married for 20 years. So in the end, this brings in a lot of forgiveness, because you realize, so maybe he didn't do that to just mess up my life, but to share with me this experience. And that was a very nice thing to do. And there's also one thing that I recommend to many people, I have been recommending a lot, is a movie that's called The Cabin, where you learn a lot about forgiveness and about judging another person for their behavior. So I strongly recommend this movie, which is called The Cabin, Die Hütte, a weekend with God.
Yeah.
And it's not a religious movie, and yet it's very spiritual.
Yeah.
I think it's a very strong movie about forgiveness. And whenever I'm having a hard time to forgive, or to try to forgive, or to decide to forgive, I get to see that movie again. And there's this one scene about wisdom explaining to a man about judging a person. And in the end, when you're judging a person, for example, your ex-partner, for what he has done to you, you will not be able to forgive. And forgiveness is not a gift to him, but to yourself. And I think that's a very, very strong statement in the movie. And that's why I recommend it a lot. I like it a lot. And to me, it helped. And also that book helped. And talking to my friends.
Yes, amazing. Yeah.
If you want other results, different results, you have to start doing different things. So for me, for example, that meant I'm not going where I used to go, because I will meet the same people, possibly also him, which I didn't want to see. So you have to make up your mind, what result do I want to have, and how do I get it? I will not have another result if I keep doing the same things.
Yes, like Einstein said, it's insane to hope for other results as long as you keep doing the same things.
Correct. And I think that's a very important thing to do, because I see people, you know, that tell me for years. So I've been single for many years, and I said, so what do you do? And they said, well, I go dancing every Saturday at the same spot. And I'm like,
yeah,
of course, if you want something else to happen in your life, you need to do something else to make this happen, and maybe try out something you hadn't tried before.
Yeah, I very often go to a different supermarket just also to get another experience, because there the fruits are organized differently, so you have to look around, and that makes something with you, that you have to to search for other things. Sometimes you see other products that you can't get in the local supermarket. When I drive to the office, I often use a different way because I have at least 10 different options how I can get there. And yeah, and that makes something with you, new experiences. And of course, when you go shopping or dancing somewhere else, you meet new people.
Yep. Yeah. So try out yourself. And sometimes we tend to not do things because we think we don't like them or we can't do them. And you will not know until you try. So if this is an advice I can give, is try something new every day. And if it scares you, do it twice.
So what would you recommend to women who are very sad after such an experience that the husband left them unexpectedly? For me, it was similar. I found out that he had met someone else, and within 3 weeks we separated. So it was similar. But what would you recommend? Because so many women say, yeah, but I'm so sad now, I'm so alone and I don't know how, and they're always whining, complaining. How would it be the easiest or a possible way to get out of that situation? What would you say?
First of all, no resistance to whining. So you need, because we need all emotions, and that's a very important part. We're human beings. We need all emotions. So if you're angry, be angry. If you're sad, be sad. But there's one thing: be it 100%. Like, not be on a constant whining percentage of 20%. No. You're sad, be sad 100%. But stop it when it's over. So if you dive into it and go through it and just whine, that's fine for a day. Maybe.
That's how I did it as well. Yes.
And then be angry if that's what comes up. You know, you need to give permission to your emotions to come up, because there's the 7 stages of grief that we have. You know, the first is, this is not true, this can't be it. And then you start whining, and then you become angry. And, you know, all the stages are very important. Don't skip any of them, because they come back. I always say, if emotions are like an unanswered phone call. They keep calling until you pick up. If you don't pick up, they will call again. And they come back as a worse version of yourself. So if you're sad, you be sad. And if you're sad a day, 2, 3, fine. But then do things being sad. Which means get up and do your exercise. Get up and take over responsibility. You're not a victim. Look, nobody has the privilege to decide whether you feel good or bad. So you're giving up on control about how you feel, and you make yourself a victim. So if somebody whines for a week or 2, that's fine. I don't care. But then you have to take over responsibility for yourself. Nobody is coming and makes you feel better. Nobody. So what you have to do is pick up yourself and feel better, because you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to your children if you have any. So you don't want to be that example. You don't want to be that role model. My kids have seen me cry. Of course. I mean, that's not the point. But yet they see me being up, crying, with my head up, crying, because I am not a victim. I'm responsible for myself. You cannot give up responsibility to anybody else. You are in charge of how you feel, and nobody else. So if you give that to him, to the person that left you, you're giving up on yourself.
Yes.
And that makes you be a victim. You don't want to be a victim. I mean, this podcast is not for victim women, because if it was, they wouldn't listen to it.
Yes, absolutely.
So take over responsibility and stop being the victim. You are in charge of how you feel. Again, nobody's coming to make you feel better. You are in charge. So little things. I've had friends, you know, that were doing so much worse than I was. And they said, but I feel so bad. And I said, well, go for a walk and still feel bad. I don't care, but you go for the walk.
Yeah.
And now you get up and you shower and you go for a walk.
Yeah.
And you take over responsibility, because he's not coming to lift you up. Nobody is coming. You have to do it yourself. And the election that was, I think, the worst for me was I wanted to understand so bad. I wanted to understand so bad what had happened, but we don't need to understand. We need to go on. So we don't need closure. We need to go on. And
yes, sometimes we also question ourselves, what did we do wrong? What could we have done differently? What could we have done better? But yeah, it's gone. It's you can't change the past, but you
so
also
you have to surrender to the present.
Yes.
This is how it is. And I'm going to handle it. I'm going to handle it. I don't know how, but yet I will handle it.
Yeah.
And then you just get up. I mean, for me, for example, it was little things. Going for a walk in the morning instead of, you know, being in bed and being sad and blah, blah. So I had a dog, and I had to take the dog. I was responsible for this animal more.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I took over responsibility more for him than for me. Until I realized, oh, but I need the walk too.
Yes.
I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it for myself. Now the dog is old and I'm taking the walk by myself. So I take him for 10 minutes and then I come back and I take a walk for myself, because I have realized this is good for me. And this is taking over responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. And women, especially mothers, tend to be responsible for everybody else but for themselves.
Yeah. That's true. So what would you say was the biggest present for you in this situation?
My growth.
Your growth.
I came to my full size growth. I'm much more myself and giving myself permission to be myself than I used to. And the feedback that I have been receiving the past 2 years is that I'm so much more me and so much stronger and such an inspiration to so many people, women, men also, that I would have never done without this, because I took over responsibility. And I can push people much more now that I've gone through this, because I can tell them, you know what, I survived it and you can do it. And you can do that too.
Yes.
I've been there.
And did you also take professional help, or you already did a lot of work? You've been working with emotions for ages, but did you take other personal development courses, or would you recommend that?
Yes. First of all, most of my friends are professionals, so that's the bad part and the good part. I'm surrounded by coaches and therapists. And actually, my son one day came up to me and said, "Mom, you need a therapist." And at first I was mad. I was like, "What do you mean I need a therapist?" And he said, "Yeah, you need somebody who's even stronger than you are." That was interesting. And I looked in my friends group for a therapist, and I'm still talking with him. And I told him, you know, I need this. Sometimes I call him and I said, I need a friend. And then sometimes I call him and I said, I need a therapist.
Ah, cool.
And that's good. You know, so of course also that is taking responsibility. And I didn't like that when my son told me, of course not, because I thought I was, you know, full of wisdom. But if you're involved, you're not full of wisdom. You're involved.
Yeah.
And so of course I did, and I did take some classes, which I think was interesting. There's this one seminar that people had been telling me, like, you have to do that, you have to do that. And I was like, nah, it's not calling me. It's just not calling me. And then one morning after the separation, I woke up and I was like, I'm going there. It was like this. So I felt it. I felt I had to do it, and I did it, and it was awesome. But I think it's on the day-to-day basis, it's even more important, because, you know, a seminar is nice for a week and you have a lot of growth within a week or so, or in this case, it was, I think, 10 days. And that was awesome. But the real life happens in real life.
Every day.
And that's when you need support.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I can only recommend, if you have friends that maybe have gone through the same thing, that helps, because if they haven't gone through the same thing, they will not understand. But if you have friends that are maybe 5 steps ahead of you, because they have been through this, call them, be vulnerable, tell them how you feel, and ask for help.
Yes.
If you don't have that kind of friend, look for a coach. Look for somebody who has been through this and who is willing to hold your hand when it's hard, and push you and make you realize how strong you really are.
Yeah.
Why you still think that you're a failure. I thought I was a total failure in all aspects. Really, I did. And then I realized, no, wait a minute. I can be such an inspiration.
Yes, you are.
And I took over responsibility to be inspiring, instead of you know, staying in this victim role, like, oh, he left me. Even with my friend, you know. Yes, I think that's what I would recommend.
Thank you.
Read a good book, watch the movie, and practice forgiveness, and not for him, for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you cannot get on with your life if you're still with anger. I don't, you know, at this point, after 3 years, there is no anger. There's and that's an interesting discussion I had with my sons, because but you're still being much too nice and blah. And I said, wait a minute. If it wasn't for him, you guys wouldn't be here. So he has been responsible for the 2 greatest gifts in my life.
Yeah.
I will not blame him for making a mistake, or for not treating me or treating our marriage the way I had expected him to, or to fulfill my dreams.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him a bad person.
No, and sometimes chapters close. There are, yeah, and it's time to start a new chapter.
Right. And so I'm beyond thankful. And yet I had wished for another ending. And that's, you know, and that's it. But there is a lot of forgiveness, and also forgiving myself for not being the wife he had wanted me to be, for him to stay with me. I mean, that's also another point, you know, like, women tend to always, definitely, always tend to feel guilty and ashamed. And of course, I felt guilty and ashamed, because I was like, I failed.
Yeah, that was my problem in the beginning as well.
Yeah, so you can just realize that he's wonderful the way he is, and I am. It's just not the same way anymore. I had developed so much in the past years that I was just growing out of it, and I didn't realize until we separated. And he gave that gift to me too, for me to grow even further.
Yes.
So I'm beyond thankful, and I think that helps a lot to be in peace. And you can't be happy if you're not in peace.
Yeah.
And of course, sometimes I'm triggered. Of course I am. I mean, you know, there's still moments that I go, but and you know, be angry when it's time to be angry, but just don't fall into it.
Yes, that's true. Thank you so much, Ursula. That's been very helpful, and I hope for our listeners as well. Do you have last words for the ladies outside there? Do you have
last words?
Yeah.
Not all gifts are wrapped nicely. Give up on resistance, and decide to have a happy life every day. day by day, even in the dark days.
True. Yes. Thank you, Ursula. Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Ambitious Single Moms Stories of Strength and Success. It's been an absolute pleasure having Ursula share her incredible journey and insights with us today. I hope you found her story as inspiring and empowering as I did. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below, sharing your thoughts or any questions you have for our guest. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. All the links and additional resources about Ursula and myself can be found in the show notes below. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue bringing you amazing content. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep thriving. See you in the next episode.
Thank you for joining us on Ambitious Single Moms, Stories of Strength and Success. Let's embark on this journey together and rediscover the magic in our lives. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for our next episode.